What if I told you the most powerful force in the global economy isn't a government, a central bank, or even a billionaire? It's a company most people have never seriously thought about. A company that doesn't make products, doesn't build factories, doesn't sell anything you can hold in your hands. And yet, it sits at the center of decisions that affect your pension, your mortgage, the price of your groceries, and the future of entire national economies. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets. To put that in perspective, that's larger than the GDP of every country on Earth, except the United States and China. It's more than the entire economic output of Japan, Germany, and the UK combined. But the number is almost irrelevant, because BlackRock's real power isn't in what it owns. It's in where it sits, between the people who do own the world, between the institutions that move capital, between the systems that define what risk even means. And once you understand the architecture of that position, you'll never look at global finance the same way again. This is the story of how one company built the most powerful position in modern finance, not through force, not through politics, through architecture. So here's the question nobody seriously asks. How can one firm influence companies, governments, pension funds, and public policy without ever appearing to be in control? The answer isn't corruption. It isn't conspiracy. It's something far more sophisticated. Network control. BlackRock doesn't dominate through visibility. It dominates through positioning. The most powerful node in any system isn't the loudest one. It's the one everything else has to pass through. That's what BlackRock built. Not an empire you can see, an empire you can't avoid. BlackRock was founded in 1988 by Larry Fink and 7 partners, operating out of a single room in New York. Fink had already made his name on Wall Street as one of the architects of the mortgage-backed securities market. But he also witnessed firsthand how quickly that market could turn catastrophic when risk wasn't properly understood. That experience became BlackRock's founding obsession. Not returns, risk. While the rest of Wall Street was focused on upside, Fink built an entire firm around one question: what happens when everything goes wrong? Through the 1990s, the firm grew quietly. It built sophisticated risk analytics tools and attracted institutional clients, the kind that don't make headlines, but control enormous amounts of capital. Then came 2008. The financial crisis didn't just destroy weak institutions. It revealed who the system trusted when everything collapsed. The US Federal Reserve, the Treasury, and foreign governments turned to BlackRock to help manage toxic assets, run stress tests, and model scenarios no one else had the infrastructure to handle. It wasn't just a financial firm anymore. It had become a trusted layer of the global financial operating system. And that position, once established, never went away. Larry Fink is not a name that trends on social media. He doesn't court headlines. He doesn't post on X. He doesn't appear on magazine covers. But once a year, he writes a letter addressed to the CEOs of the largest companies on Earth. And they read it, not out of politeness, out of necessity. Because when the man who is one of your largest shareholders tells you how he thinks you should run your company, you pay attention. That is not fame. That is something far more valuable, invisible authority. The real power move wasn't buying more assets. It was Aladdin. Asset liability debt and derivative investment network. A risk management platform that BlackRock began building in the late 1980s and never stopped expanding. Today, Aladdin is used by pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, and major asset managers across the world. It monitors risk across an estimated $25 trillion in assets. But here's what makes it genuinely unprecedented. When thousands of major institutions use the same risk framework, they don't just share software, they begin to share perception. Same signals, same threat models, same definitions of what is safe and what is dangerous. In markets, shared perception shapes collective behavior, and collective behavior shapes prices, flows, and outcomes. BlackRock didn't just build a product, it built the lens through which a significant portion of global institutional capital sees the world. And whoever controls the lens controls what gets seen. Through index funds and ETFs, BlackRock has become one of the largest shareholders in thousands of publicly traded companies simultaneously. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, JP Morgan, ExxonMobil, Lockheed Martin. Significant stakes across technology, banking, defense, energy, and healthcare. The full spectrum of the modern economy. The next time you buy an iPhone, stream Netflix, or fill up your car, there's a very good chance BlackRock is a top shareholder in the company behind that transaction. Not as a silent observer, as one of the most influential voices in the room. When BlackRock engages with a company's board on governance, executive compensation, or strategic direction, it speaks as one of the largest shareholders in the room. This is not dictatorship. It's not direct control in the traditional sense. It's something subtler, and in many ways more durable. Infrastructure power. The kind that feels neutral because it operates through systems and standards, while quietly shaping outcomes across the entire economy. Here is the fact that most financial analysis completely ignores. The most consequential power in modern capitalism is not owning assets. It's controlling the frameworks by which assets are evaluated. Risk models, governance standards, proxy voting systems, portfolio construction methodologies. BlackRock operates at every single one of these layers, which means its deepest influence happens before capital even moves. Before a pension fund decides where to allocate, before a bank decides what to classify as risk, before a government decides what infrastructure project is worth financing. The assumptions are already in place. A company competes for customers. BlackRock became the environment in which financial decisions get made. That is not market power. That is architectural power. And architectural power doesn't need to win arguments. It just needs to be the default. Now look at where this trajectory leads. BlackRock has been aggressively moving into private markets, infrastructure financing, data centers, and AI-related investments. In 2024, it acquired Global Infrastructure Partners for $12.5 billion, one of the largest infrastructure investment managers in the world. The future won't just be about who owns companies. It will be about who owns the decision layer behind capital allocation. Who defines what gets financed, what gets built, and what gets left behind. When you pay your electricity bill, when your city builds a new highway, when a new data center powers the AI tools you use every day, increasingly, the capital behind that infrastructure traces back to BlackRock. As AI enters portfolio construction and risk modeling, the institutions that define those models gain influence that compounds exponentially. And this process is almost entirely invisible to the public. Because modern power doesn't look like control. It looks like optimization. Cleaner dashboards, smarter models, more efficient markets. But beneath the efficiency is dependence. And dependence, once embedded into systems people cannot function without, is the most durable form of power ever invented. The strategic lesson of BlackRock is one of the most important in modern business. The highest level of power is not visible dominance. It is invisible indispensability. BlackRock didn't win by being the most aggressive. It won by becoming impossible to remove. You see this pattern everywhere once you know how to look. Microsoft didn't win enterprise computing by making the best software. It won by making its software the default layer everything else ran on. Visa didn't win payments by being the most innovative. It won by becoming the infrastructure all transactions had to pass through. BlackRock didn't win finance by being the best investor. It won by becoming the operating system institutions couldn't afford to replace. The lesson: don't fight for attention at the surface level. Build at the infrastructure level. Become the system others depend on. That is where power stops being competitive and starts being permanent. So does BlackRock secretly control the global economy? Not through conspiracy, not through backroom deals, through something far more effective and far more permanent. Systems, infrastructure, default settings, shared assumptions, invisible architecture. You've never signed a contract with BlackRock. You've never voted for it. You've never chosen it. And yet, through your pension fund, your bank, your insurance company, you are almost certainly already part of its ecosystem. Once you see how invisible power actually works, you start recognizing the same structure everywhere, in the platforms you use every day, in the institutions that shape your choices, in the systems that feel neutral but were designed by someone for a reason. If this changed the way you see power, subscribe to Titan Theory. Every week we break down the hidden systems and strategies behind the world's biggest empires. And if you've ever wondered why your groceries, your rent, and your bills keep rising no matter what you do, the next video will show you exactly who benefits when everything becomes more expensive. And more importantly, how the system was designed to work that way. Titan Theory, where power hides in plain sight.